Good morning, my library friends. Welcome to the Red Bank Public Library. I'm Sira Williams. I'm the children's librarian here, and we're here for another session of Family Storytime on Race and Diversity. Thank you for joining me. You know, it's March. That means it's Women's History Month, so I just want to get right into it. Throughout history, and really since the beginning of time, women have been mothers, daughters, sisters, wives, caretakers, and nurturers for everybody in our society. But women have not always been treated with the same respect as men and have not enjoyed equal rights as men throughout our history. Still, despite all that, women in every community, I'm going to say in every family, in every corner of the world, do amazing things, do brave things to fulfill their own sense of purpose, to change their community, and to make the world a better place for them and the people that they love. And a lot of times, their actions, their inventions, their teachings, their leadership change the course of history. But their stories are not always reflected in our history books. And so that's what Women's History Month is all about. It's about acknowledging, celebrating the struggles, the triumphs of women throughout history. And it's about changing our mindset from thinking about history. See the word within history that I underline this time? His. From his story to dun, da, 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 her story. See how I did that? We're taking history and we're flipping it and concentrating on her stories. All right? So, family story time on race and diversity is really done virtually so that you can have these conversations in your home with your own family in a way that's right for you and the ages of your kids, in a way that you can talk about the values that are important to your family. I'm just here to read you a story and to give you some things to think about and talk about. So we're going to start by thinking about this. I want you to give me a thumbs up or down whether or not you agree with these statements, okay? Do you agree that girls should be able to go to school? Ding! Do you agree that girls should be able to play sports? How about wear pants outside in public? Ding! How about go to college? Should they be able to have their own money? Should they be able to grow up and be what they want to be? Should they be able to have the right to vote? Yeah. Okay, we're going to stop playing this game because it's all thumbs up for me. Hopefully it is for you too. But this is the thing. These are all seemingly basic things that for your generation seem perfectly normal, but these are all things that women have had to fight for in history. It's true. And there are places in this world right now where many of those things are not rights that women enjoy. There are places in the world where girls do not go to school, where they do not wear pants outside of their homes, where they cannot have their own money or their own agency in that way. And so this is why learning her story is so important, because it helps us to put the present day into perspective and to understand the world around us. All right, so let's read our book. Where is our book? It's way over here. Our book today is called Stand Up, 10 Mighty Women Who Made a Change. It's a book that's really written just for you young people, and it's about standing up and using your voice. And it's written by Brittney Cooper and illustrated by Kathy Ann Johnson. And I'm going to scooch around so I'm sure that you can see. All right, Sira, let's find page 1. Here we go. When you were born, you couldn't do anything but look cute and cry. But then you learned to sit up, and that's not easy. You had to practice. You stumbled and fell. You hit your head a lot. Ouch. Then you learned how to walk, skip, jump, and run. And for each new thing that you learned, you stumbled and fell. It wasn't easy, but you kept at it, and look at you now. You make it look good. But do you know what you had to learn before you could do any of that? You had to learn how to stand. Standing up is a powerful thing. You stand up so much now that I bet you don't even think about it anymore. But let me ask you this. Why did you stand up that very first time? I bet you stood up to take that first step toward your mom and dad. We stand up for the things we love. Stand up means more than using your legs and feet. You can stand up to help your family, your friends, and your neighbors. You can stand up for what you believe. If you stand on your feet, you'll be a few feet taller. But if you stand on your beliefs, you will be mighty. Listen, and I'll tell you the story of some mighty women who stood up and changed this world. Stand up. So I'm not going to read you the complete narrative about each one of these women, but I'm going to tell you who they are and how they stood up to make a change in the world. So this is Mom Bet, and Mom Bet stood up by demanding her rights. She was the first enslaved person to be freed in America. Phyllis Wheatley picked up a pen. That's how she took a stand. She became famous as America's first Black woman poet. Ida B. Wells was also a writer and a great leader, and she stood up by speaking out. Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin stood up by sitting down because they both refused to get out of their seats on a bus. Rosa Parks was on a city bus, and Claudette Colvin was on a school bus. Ruby Bridges stood up by going to school. She was a little girl who integrated a school in New Orleans in 1960, and boy, was she brave. Prathia Hall stood up by preaching out. She was a preacher in the 1960s who influenced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Lelia Foley stood up by getting out the vote. She was the first Black female mayor in American history. Bree Newsom stood up by climbing high. This is a young woman who was protesting the Confederate flag being flown at the Capitol in South Carolina. And Mari Copany, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name right, I'm sorry, but was an 8-year-old girl who stood up by refusing to be ignored. She lived in Flint, Michigan, where they had such a horrible problem with their water. And she wrote to President Barack Obama, and she got some help for her city as an 8-year-old girl. That's amazing. Hopefully you'll be inspired to learn more about one of these girls or women or somebody else this month. It says each of these women changed the world for the better, but they weren't alone. There were many more who took a stand in their own lives in their own way, and there will be many more to come. So now I've got a question for you. When you look at your world, what do you see? What is the good? What is the bad? What do you love? How would you help? What is the change you wish could happen? Whatever it is, it will start when you take a stand. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it won't be easy. Standing up means making yourself stand out from the crowd. It means being different. People might try to put you down. But did Rosa Parks give up when she got arrested? Did Ida B. Wells give up when an angry mob burned her printing press to the ground? When people screamed at Ruby Bridges, did she turn around and go home? No, they stood up. Remember this, when you stand up for what you believe, you don't stand alone. You're standing on the shoulders of the mighty ones who came before you. So don't back down. History has your back. Now it's your turn. Don't be shy. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for others. Stand up for what you believe. Stand up to be counted. Stand up to be the change you want to see. And if you do that, then believe me when I tell you this, you will be mighty. You're going to change the world. I think that book is quite inspiring, don't you? Well, I want to show you some examples of some other girls and young women who have stood up in their own way and have really made a difference in this world. So, do you know Greta Thunberg? She stood up by protesting for our environment. And she is still working and making a difference in this world in that area. Here's Ruby Bridges. We did a whole program where I read this book. And again, she integrated a school in 1960 in New Orleans. She was just a little girl. And just by going to school and being brave and being persistent, she made a difference in this world and became a great leader. I just became aware of this book. It's called All the Way to the Top. It's about this girl called Jennifer Keelan Chaffins and how she stood up by being an activist for disability rights. Great story. And another population that had to stand up for their rights and still needs help in doing that today. And here's Malala Yousafzai, who is a young woman who continues to stand up for the rights of girls to get educated in this world. And she is a great activist, a great speaker, and has really made an impact in the world. So these are young women, and I want to show you that because you don't have to wait to be a grown-up to use your voice and make a difference. You can do it right now in your own communities, in your own neighborhoods, at your own school, for whatever cause you think is right. All right? Get inspired by these gals. I want you to think about something else. If you do have role models who are women, grown women, who do you think about? Whether it's your mom or grandmom or a teacher or somebody that you see on TV, a business leader, a movie star, any woman that you know used to be a girl. That's what I want you to remember. We were all girls at one point in time, and we can remember in the blink of an eye what it was like to be a girl. So women and girls understand each other because of the experiences that we go through and the feelings that we have and the experiences that we share. We go through things that boys and men will never understand. And because of that, there's a sisterhood among women and girls that's very special, and it can be very strong. And you'll feel it more and more as you grow up. But I want you to recognize something. Within that sisterhood, there is diversity. because, and we talk about diversity all the time in this program, but women and girls come in all different shapes, all different sizes, all different colors, all different cultures. They speak all different languages. And so these differences affect the way we move in the world, and they also affect the way people treat us in this world. So let's just do a little exercise. I've got two gals here. I'm gonna call this one Kiara and this one Sophia, okay? They're friends and they can relate to each other in so many ways, right? Because they understand some of the same feelings, some of the same issues, and they've gone through some of the same things because they are female. And some of those things they may have experienced would be being treated differently or unfairly because they're female. And when that happens, that's again called sexism. And so we talked about some of the things that women have fought for throughout history in terms of rights, women's rights. But FYI, sexism still exists in this country, and women's rights are not always prioritized. And so I'm going to give you an example of something that we're still fighting for, and that is equal pay. Because these women do not get paid the same as this man for equal work. On average, that's true in America, and that's not fair. That's sexist. But here's something to also think about. Because Kiara is brown, because she's a black woman, she's going to experience other levels of discrimination because of the color of her skin, and that's called racism. And so these are overlapping experiences that some people live with every day. And both sexism and racism are unfair, unjust, and are things that we need to stand up and fight against still to this day. All right, and there's many ways that we can take a stand. We can do it by protesting. We can do it by giving speeches. We can do it by joining organizations that are doing good work and working together with other people. We can do it just by having conversations with people that disagree with us, and having honest conversations with them and letting them know where we stand. But what it said in the book is true. Sometimes when you take a stand, people will tell you to sit down. Sometimes when you use your voice, people who don't like that will tell you to be quiet. This is the thing. Sitting down and being quiet doesn't help the situation at all. You might be able to convince yourself that you're not part of the problem because you're not being racist, you're not being sexist, you're treating everybody fairly, you're a good person. But despite that, sexism, racism, all the isms still exist, and there's still people that are getting hurt. So when you're not actively working to make things better, then things are not getting better. And that kind of makes you part of the problem. So at those times where people are telling you to be quiet, to sit down, that's when you got to kind of look within yourself, reconnect with your mind and your body and your spirit, and decide if you're strong enough to be that leader and stand on your own. Because I guarantee when you do stand up, there's other people that are sitting down and being quiet. They agree with you. And they're just waiting for somebody to be the first, to be that leader. And you can be that one. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm going to read you a poem that I think is inspiring. It's from one of my favorite authors, Shel Silverstein, and his book, Falling Up. And the poem is called The Voice. It's short and sweet, but it's a good one. It says, there is a voice inside of you that whispers all day long. I feel that this is right for me. I feel that this is wrong. No teacher, preacher, parent, friend, or wise man can decide what's right for you. Just listen to the voice that speaks inside. Okay? So you got to rely on that voice. Trust your voice. Listen to your voice now. See if you can think of the female role models in your life. If you know them, let them know that you appreciate them and that you look up to them. And then use them as inspiration and use your voice. Take your stand, and you might become an inspiration for somebody else. That's how we take it and pass it on. Take it and pass it on. I hope that I'm an inspiration to some of the people in my life. I definitely have friends and co-workers and people that I look up to as women and role models because of the way that they speak out and for what they believe. And I hope that you have found some inspiration in what we've talked about today, that you'll learn some more HERstory this month, and that you'll take some peace and love right now and pass it on today. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.